You either die a hero, or you live long enough to see yourself become the villain.
We are in very serious trouble.
Look, Jeffrey Dahmer was eating the shit out of niggas' heads.
He is the one.
The first is the count of attempted murder of Patricia Miley. The jury finds the defendant.
When They See Us is a 2019 4-episode miniseries directed by Ava Duvernay on Netflix. Based on a true story, it details the haunting events of the Central Park Five, a group of 5 young minority boys in New York who were accused of the brutal rape and assault of a white jogger in the late 1980s. It addresses many disturbing acts of injustice against these children, including coercion and violence, and also chronicles the decades-long affair following the incident, switching through several perspectives and showing the pervasive impact on these boys' families, friends, and society as a whole. This show was phenomenal. It was great from almost every angle. The cinematography is one area that I think a lot of people are probably going to overlook. You know, at first it feels kind of conventional, but like as it goes on, there are just some shots in this miniseries that just kind of make your jaw drop. Just some editing choices, some kind of clever ways of transitioning from scene to scene and how it kind of flows together. This cinematography is just perfect at kind of getting you in the scene and getting you acquainted with the setting and getting you feeling like you're close to the characters, not only physically but also emotionally, mentally, like in the headspace of these characters. It just gives off a certain tone, a certain vibe, and it does well in kind of creating this atmosphere just perfectly. I think that the cinematography it's gonna be understated by, you know, a lot of people how good the cinematography is. You know, that goes along with the directing. The directing is amazing in this show. Ava DuVernay did a great job of directing the actors. I mean, Michael K. Williams, who plays the father of one of the young boys in the Central Park Five, he is amazing in every role that I've ever seen him in. He's just so good at playing a character you just feel sorry for. He is so empathetic. I mean, there's just some scenes where you feel so sorry for him. He's going through so much, and it's so hard for him to deal with his guilt and with his pain, you know, physically and emotionally. It's so good. This show does a phenomenal job of coalescing the relationship between physical and emotional pain. It connects them in a way that just doesn't happen very often in film and television. Jarrell Jerome is the only person of the Central Park Five who plays both the young and the old version of his character, and he just does such a phenomenal job showing how he has progressed in his time. It's so emotional, it's so haunting. You feel the emotions of him. He's brutalized, he's physically assaulted so much, and he just, you know, he's so close to the breaking point. You just feel his mind tearing apart, and he does such a great job. He was in Moonlight as well. He did a great job in that, and I just, you know, he is outstanding. I would be surprised if he doesn't get nominated for something. He was just so great in this. I will say one flaw that I felt with it is that there's a little too much connection to today, even though it takes place back in the 80s. I feel like they went a little overboard with that, trying to make the connection and the criticisms that they have against the president, but I didn't think it took away too much. It was just a little jarring seeing them constantly do it. This show also does an outstanding job of chronicling a decades-long story. It doesn't just detail the events in the 1980s. It doesn't just detail the events in the 1990s. It also goes into the 2000s, and it even does a little bit of concluding the events, you know, just a few years ago, just in 2014. And so it just does a really great job at encompassing this very large area of time. And it doesn't really feel like it drags for the most part. I will say that another flaw is that there are a couple of points where it feels like it is a bit directionless. You know, there's a part after the switch. There's a before time and there's an after time. I don't want to give too much away because I didn't really know very much about this incident at all. And so when I watched the miniseries, almost every moment was so raw and it was so real and emotional. And so I don't want to give anything away if you haven't heard about it. But there's a before and there's an after. And in the after, it's a little bit directionless. It's a little bit aimless. You're kind of getting to know these characters again. You're kind of getting to know who these people are now. It just feels a little too loose. It feels like there's not as much of a clear goal for everyone. You're just kind of getting acquainted with them, and I feel like it goes on a little bit too long. It's a very minor thing because once you start to get reacquainted with these characters, then you start to feel their new challenges and their new weights and the emotional and physical pain that they still feel. But overall, yeah, I think the show was outstanding. It's a show that I would highly recommend. I mean, you see these characters go through so much. It's such an all-encompassing journey. You get to see how it impacts not only the characters, but also society and also their families. And you get to see just how big of an impact it has just on all of these different groups. You understand where every character's coming from, the guilt, the pain, the regret. There wasn't a weak actor in the whole miniseries. Everyone was great. Everyone just did a phenomenal, I know I keep saying that, I know everyone did a phenomenal job of playing their characters and of conveying the emotion and the weight of what they're feeling. And it's a miniseries that I really cannot recommend enough. It's just so spectacular, incredible, amazing, flawless almost. It's very close to flawless. There's just a few problems, like I said, it drags at a couple of points, but other than that, it's pretty much perfect. It's a miniseries that I would give a 9 at least, probably a 9.5, and if I weren't stingy, I would give it a 10. You really need to check it out if you haven't already. It's unbelievable. It's great. Thanks for watching.